the next team, they're definitely going to be a lot better this year. Okay, they go out, they get Jalen Ramsey, like you mentioned. Even last year, at the end of last year, at the deadline, they they go out and they trade for Bradley Chubb. It's a reason why they didn't have a first round pick this year, and they also they don't have a first round pick for that reason, and they also don't have a first round pick because of course the tampering thing with Tom Brady. So they didn't pick until the 50th pick.
Yeah.
And they come away with Cam Smith, who I thought was a first round talent. So nice job, Miami. You get a guy that has that kind of fire, that the swag, I think, that you have with Ramsey, with X Howard. And so I think he'll fit in there like a glove, honestly. And then at 84, because you trade the 77th pick to the Rams for Ramsey, which obviously you won that trade. I don't have to tell you that. But Davon Achane, right? When you look at, their running back room, they brought a lot of guys back. But is there one guy that you look at and you're like, yep, that guy is definitely the go-to number one guy? I don't really think so, right? I mean, Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Salvin Ahmed, Myles Gaskin. I mean, it sounds to me like they have a bunch of scat backs. I mean, that's, so it's like you have a running back room with a bunch of scat backs, and you could argue, Devon Achane isn't as big as some of the other backs, but I think he goes right in there and he can easily compete for that number one spot. Won't be surprised if he gets it. He's a hell of a player coming out of Texas A&M, my 5th overall running back in this draft, and one of the fastest players in the draft, regardless of position. So I thought that was a great pick. Elijah Higgins, wide receiver from Stanford. He's somebody might take a couple of years. People forget about him, but I like this pick. You can develop him. He has some tools, and he makes some really nice catches outside of his frame. And then Ryan Hayes, just a solid pick in the 7th round. Some had him going a little bit higher. He adds some depth to that tackle room. So all in all, you only have 4 picks. The Higgins-Hayes picks, I'm not going to, trash. Obviously, they're 6th and 7th rounds, and they both have, some upside there with Higgins. Ryan Hayes is just kind of, he's kind of there. But Cam Smith and Devon Achane, Cam, I'm going to... It's tough because they only have 4 picks. I'm going to give them a B just because, we can fit the... I'll give them a B+. No, I'll stick to B because they only have 4 picks. But one of those, the reason is because they traded, they got Chubb, they got Ramsey. I don't want to go too hard on them. They're a really weird team to grade in this whole, scheme of things.
Yeah. It's like I said, you don't want to go too hard when it comes to the Dolphins fan base. This is an NFL show. We want everyone to win. And the Dolphins been taking their lickings, I'm sure, in the media for a long time now, right? Because we were first going through this. I'm like, wait, where's the 32nd pick? And it's like, the Dolphins had it, So we don't want to beat it. We don't want to beat up on the Dolphins too much, Shake. That B is fair, and I'm going to give him a B-. I said I want to beat him up too much, but I gave him a minus. The reason why I say that is they stepped out of bounds. They stepped out of bounds. Sometimes you go to the track meets, right? Guys are going to the Olympics, or gals. They train 4 years for that one moment, and they false start before that whistle blow. Stepped out of bounds. Got to go home. Same thing for the Dolphins. They stepped out of bounds last year. Unfortunately, they got to get a B-, right? You got to go home. You got to get what you can take with these 4 picks, but sorry, I'll see you later. So with these picks, pretty decent. We talk about Cam Smith with X Howard being over there, or Ramsey being over there, them going for their first rounder or their first pick, a second rounder as a cornerback. You can add some depth back there if you want to, move the nickel or safety or whatever. Like if you have that, in your wheelhouse, or you want to move Ramsey to safety at some point, the older he gets, you want to have a successor. Okay, I see that, but So I'm gonna give him a B-. I'm gonna give him a B- on that.
I actually really like that pick. So you and I differ on that.
Okay, yeah, we differ on that. And Cam Smith, I have it here, right? He can probably play safety if he needs to. Great field. He blocks a couple field goals as well, so you can use him there. But my only thing about him is his interception rate, Jake. A lot of times that ball would hit them hands, and they would drop like a bad habit. And I didn't like that.
No, I mean, especially, I think those guys also really felt that when you watch like the tape of like say Forbes. I think Forbes really put guys on notice. Like, hey, you know what?
Like,
You play a position where I don't want to hear there's a reason why you're on the defensive side of the ball, and you're not a receiver. Okay. I need you to come down with it. The ball hits your hands, catch it,
yeah.
So I get that. I mean, I think that was a big knock on him. But yeah, it's like those two picks I really like. I like the Higgins pick, the Hayes pick. I'm just kind of indifferent about, but I'm not gonna like trash it because it's a seventh rounder. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But 4 draft picks was very. I mean, the Rams had a draft high 14. They had 4.
They stepped out of bounds. They scratched, Jake. They scratched. They took the L during this draft. So that's why I gotta say, give him a B minus. With Cam Smith, talk about his hands. Maybe X Howard can help him, right? X has been leading the NFL in interceptions, right? So you got one guy who doesn't catch the rock, and you got one guy who does. So they'll do some interception drills, I'm sure, at practice. So I love the growth for Mr. Cam Smith there, Jake.